We'll be starting. Roll call.
Director Mack,
Here.
Director Townsend Smith,
Here.
Director Irvine.
Here.
Is Director Hoffman on?
She is not on.
Okay, we will note Director Hoffman is absent and Director Hamilton is absent. Will we have a quorum? Thank you.
Do I have approval of the agenda?
Pledge.
Oh, sorry. Pledge allegiance. Stand for pledge allegiance.
I pledge to you.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions, deletions to amendments to the agenda?
We have none.
And approval of the agenda? You want to make a motion?
That's
Move approval.
July or July.
Move approval.
The
And if we have a second,
I wasn't here.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. Any person to address the board at this time may, on any subject not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of Rainbow Municipal Water District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for report and action of a subsequent board meeting. As to matters of the agenda, if a request to make a public comment is received or an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Members of the public may make comments in person by submitting a speaker slip to the board secretary virtually through virtual or teleconference options, or by submitting an email to and no less than 1 hour prior posted start time of the meeting. Comments shall be made in an orderly manner, and profanity, slander, or abusive language which is disruptive to the meeting will not be tolerated. Individuals have a limit to 3 minutes to make comments and will have the opportunity that will be called upon by the presiding officer. I see we have one.
That's for an agenda item though.
That's for an agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we have nobody wants to make a comment.
I haven't
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have not received any additional requests to speak. Are there any online?
We have members of the public online, but they have not requested to speak.
Okay. Employee recognitions.
Yes, we've got a couple good ones today. I'm going to start with Mikey Gonzalez, celebrating 5 years with Rainbow. He's part of our construction team, Utility Worker 3, relatively new Utility Worker 3, but he's worked himself up from started as Utility Worker 1 and one from a temp. Sorry. But yeah, worked his way up over the last 5 years, both in certifications and just skill level. And I've had the opportunity to actually work with Mike and see what he does in the field, and it's quite impressive. So yeah, happy to celebrate 5 years with you. Come on up. I've got a certificate here for you, and we'll get. I need a big picture here. And next is Mr. Rene Del Rio, our one-man mechanic who takes care of everything regarded to the fleet and all our small tools and heavy equipment, really keeps us running, to be quite honest. And, you know, the district has a, coin policy. So, you know, and these are nominations that come from his fellow employees. So when somebody does something that's, above and beyond their normal call of duty, basically we have, and it outlines all of our core values, innovation, teamwork, integrity, responsibility, and professionalism. Renee received his 5th coin, so he now has all 5 coins, and so want to recognize him as one of the few individuals within this district that has achieved that. So come on up, Renee. And that's all we got for today, but two fantastic employees. Thank you guys for showing up and the support too. Appreciate that.
Okay, we're gonna have to call a roll call again. Lisa's now joined us.
I've noted her as present. Thank you.
Okay. Committee meeting summaries, Budget and Finance Committee.
Good afternoon, board members. The we'll take them in alphabetical order. The Budget and Finance Committee met on this past Tuesday, August the 12th. And I think our main item of business is something that you're going to get today, which is Andrea's update on our rate study. And I think you'll find it very interesting. There have been a couple of developments out there in the legal world that affect some things. And so I hope you enjoy. I think it's good briefing, and we appreciated it. And then on August the 5th, Tuesday, the Engineering and Operations Committee met, and you have 2 items on your agenda that we acted on and recommended to you for approval. One of them is item number on your consent calendar 9B, the completion and acceptance of minor facilities constructed by customers. And then the other one was item 11A on your agenda, approval of an agreement with Hope Consulting for the Water and Wastewater Master Plan project. And there's also a bit of a budget increase associated with that. So those are the items that we recommend to you. I have joked in the past when we have not met one committee or the other that we were not going on strike. We are going on strike, I think, for September. It looks like there will be no E&O and probably no Budget and Finance Committee meeting. So we will be on strike, but there'll be no parade and no placards out front. Any questions?
No protesters.
Okay, thanks.
Communications and Customer Service Committee.
Be quick. The meeting would have been today. So it was not held because we changed the date of the board meeting. So, thank you.
Consent calendar. Approval of the July 22nd, 2025 regular board meeting. Have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
For clarification, are we accepting the whole entire consent calendar to vote, or just the minute?
Can we do all at one time?
All at one time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to do that all at one time.
Thank you.
You want to do it again?
Move recommended action.
So
Okay,
that
I'll
was
second.
a motion by Director Irvine, a second by Director Mack.
Yes.
Okay, roll call will be Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Townsend Smith,
Aye.
Director Irvine,
Aye.
Director Hoffman.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay. Rate study.
Yes, so we've been working on, we've been working with IB Consulting, actually for many years, as a consultant to the district. They did a couple of our comprehensive rate studies, the last one being done in 2023, which established rates for 5 years. Back in 23. So we're a couple of years, about three cycles into that. And really with kind of the changes, obviously the big change with the switching of the wholesale import water provider, we wanted to have Andrea and her team update our rate model, and really as we're kind of moving towards January 1st and the entire rate card that'll have some modest increases that were approved by the board back in May as part of the budget process. So Andrea's here to give you an update and really talk about, and I originally had this in my GM comments, but actually Alfred wrote a piece on it, and Andrea's going to talk about it a lot, but and it was mentioned earlier by Flint, some pretty significant court cases that have been decided just in the last few weeks. Well, in the last few months, and then another one in just the last couple of weeks, and local to our area, one with the city of San Diego, another one with Otay Water District, but related to water rate structure that has the potential to be pretty impactful to how agencies like ours set water rates. So we'll talk about that, but she's going to go through a lot of our stuff first, and then talk about that some, and then we'll talk about maybe what's coming next and get some feedback from the board.
Thank you so much. As you guys mentioned, my name is Andrea Bowling. I'm with IB Consulting. I've been working with the district now for a number of years. So we've been through a lot together. So today we want to go over what is included in a financial plan. Okay, there's a lot that goes into it. You want to make sure that you're aware of that. We're going to go over your current water financial plan. What that means is at existing rates today, what does the health of the district look like? Then we're going to go into proposed financial plans. I have a few scenarios to go through with you guys and show you some impacts of various adjustments. And then we'll talk about the legal rate environment that we're in today. Unfortunately, it's not a good one. And then some cost of service considerations. Okay. So what goes into financial planning? It's more than just a budget. We really look at your expenses. We meet with staff and Jake, and we go through and we look at your line item by line item detail to see if we know of any upcoming costs that are coming down the pipeline. Any escalations, we want to make sure that we capture those, and we're accounting for anything that is new and upcoming or something that was planned for. Okay. A big part of that is going to be debt obligations. There's a number of debt obligations that the district has, especially on the water enterprise. So we need to make sure that we factor those in. Water demand is a big component for Rainbow Water District. It impacts everything. Okay. So we're going to account for that in our financial planning. We're going to do revenue projections. So we actually do a P times Q, price times quantity. And we go through and we calculate your rate revenue and make sure that it's in line with what you guys are actually seeing occur. And this helps us make sure that we have a good denominator for our cost of service study later on. So it's kind of a QC, QA right before we even really get going. We also need to account for any non-operating revenues besides rate revenues. You guys are limited on what you have available there, but that would include property taxes or rents and leases. Capital spending is by far and away the biggest item for any water utility. So we need to make sure that we're planning for all those capital projects coming down the pipeline and that we've factored that into our financial plan. And then last but not least, we need to make sure that we have sufficient reserves to cover any unforeseen and even foreseen expenses. Okay, so there's a lot that goes in. Let's look at where you guys are at today. So some of the key assumptions that we were using in the plan, we are not relying on growth to occur to meet our revenue needs. This is a conservative approach. We think it's the most safest way to do things when we're developing rates. We don't want to rely on growth to occur because it's so unreliable, it's so volatile. You know, many developers come in and they're gung-ho and they're ready to go and they're saying, nope, we're ready to pull permits, and then it stalls for one reason or another. So again, if growth does occur, then it just adds a little bit of revenue that helps fund your reserves. And in future years, that means you can just maybe not go up to the, a full noticed rate, or you come in a little bit lower than anticipated. But again, we don't want to cut you short. Reserve interest, very modest, just 1.5%. We hope and expect that you'll see a little bit better returns than that. And then in terms of cost escalation, some of the key ones, salaries and benefits, were escalating at 6% year over year. Capital construction, we do use the ENR, which is Engineers News Record for Construction Index. We're using the 5-year average, and right now that's about 3.78%. For general costs, that would be like your office supplies, things of that nature, just very general. We're using the 5-year average CIP, which is in San Diego, and that's at 4.77%. And then energy, this one's definitely worth talking about. After fiscal year 2026, we're using 9%. But fiscal year 2026, we've seen a 15% increase, and that's to account for you guys have the electric vehicles coming online. So we do anticipate your energy costs are going to go up. And you'll see that in the CIP plan too. We'll have charging stations that's going to, again, increase your energy costs. With that, we are expecting a little bit lower diesel and fuel costs. But again, 9% after fiscal year 2026. And then finally, for a key assumption, purchased water, we want to continue to utilize the pass-through provision. So Rainbow already does that. And all it really means is that anytime you have increased cost or decreased cost from a person outside your control, a water agency, this would be Eastern Municipal Water District now, used to be San Diego County Water Authority. Any increases, you can automatically pass those through to your customers. You just have to give them a 30-day notice. Okay, so we recommend that you continue to utilize that. The next component, water demand, like I said, it's definitely a moving target, and it does impact everything. So it impacts revenues and expenditures, not necessarily on a one-to-one basis. You know, there's, like I said, it's not even. And then it definitely impacts our cost of service analysis. What impacts demand? Obviously, weather. You guys realize a very wet year is very impactful to you guys in a negative way. You'll see a huge drop in water sales, and in many instances, you'll lose revenue. You won't recover enough to meet your revenue requirement. Regulations and mandates. You know, everybody's heard conservation is a way of life. That's been important here in California, and we have seen that it has influenced and impacted the way people are using water. Messaging, either through the district. You guys do a lot of good messaging. It's probably not as prevalent for Rainbow, but other agencies, we did see that the messaging from districts and from the state significantly influenced the way that residential customers were using water. Again, you guys have so much ag that they're unable to conserve in the sense of they can't just stop watering outdoors. They need that water, right, for their way of life. Shifts in customer mix and land use. The model and the financial plan does have the ability to change this, and it's important for you guys because as ag customers fall off, if they are no longer producing avocados or other crops, then presumably they're going to sell their land maybe, or it'll sit idle, and you'll see a big drop in, again, water usage. Hopefully it's over time, the customers will divvy up that land to developers. It'll become residential customers, and then hopefully it'll tick back up. Never meeting, of course, the level that ag uses. Natural disasters, fires are a big factor here in this area. And then, of course, service interruptions. Any breaks, leaks, things of that nature can be disruptive and really impact demand. Okay. It's worth pointing out 60 to 60% of your water usage is generated by only 21% of your customers. So again, they do have a big impact on what happens here. And then this is just me saying, okay, what are we going to project for water demand? And the question is, I don't know, but let's see where we're at. So I believe you guys have already seen similar numbers. What you're seeing here is historical water sales by customer class for the last 4 years. And we can look at it and say, okay, an average would put you at about 12.2 acre feet. Okay, but you can see that it peaks and it valleys, and you have really big swings one way or the other, which makes it really hard to predict. Okay. Moving from water sales to water purchases, this is a long-term historical look back. You can see that it's all over the place. The only thing I can say for certain is that it is decreasing over time, right? But projecting it from one year to the next, again, it's very, very difficult. What we did see was in fiscal year 2025, there was about a 30% bounce back just in 1 year, which was very impactful, and it did help, right? That helps create money to fund the reserves, and we'll show that in a little bit. What we're projecting moving forward, unless you guys tell me otherwise, we're going to project 11,000 acre feet in sales to your customers, which is almost 11,900, about 12,000 acre feet for purchases. Again, that accounts for water loss, refilling your tanks, things of that nature. So are there any concerns with that? Seeing none. The next biggest factor is going to be your capital funding. It's important to note that the standard pipeline has a useful life between 50 and 75 years. Depends on the material and the supplies that were, installed at the time. At least half the system is now greater than that 50-year life. So we're either at or beyond our useful life for much of our infrastructure. So system reinvestment is going to be a critical component moving forward. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to break tomorrow. The district does do repairs over time, right? And they maintain it. It just means that now we're moving from a stage of strictly mostly repairs and repairs to now we're going to have to actually do replacements. Best management practice. I've stated here, financial plan should extend through the capital improvement plan. All I mean by that is that we don't want to just look at 1 or 2 years. We want to make sure we're looking out into the future. So, a lot of agencies, I've seen it, we do a rate study and we're looking at 2 or 3 years and they defer that capital to the out years. And it makes it so that when you get outside that planning period, you guys go off a cliff. And we want to make sure that we don't do that. So that's all I mean by that. Of course, proactive management is less costly than emergency repairs. A sound repair and replacement program does, in fact, actually stabilize rates. So if you're not building up sufficient reserves that can cover those higher year CIP or capital projects, that means that your rates have to fund them in that year. So it'll create big spikes in your rates from year to year. So if we're looking out at an extended period, we can build up over time that will help mitigate and smooth out those rate impacts. Okay. Our action plan, we just need to make sure that our system needs are periodically reviewed and the 5-year capital plan is established. I believe you guys have up to 10 years now. Rates need to connect to the long-term plan. So now we just need to make sure that as they build that capital plan, that rates can support it and fund what needs to be funded. What you see here is the water operating position. Again, we're just looking at water only. You guys have water and wastewater. This is just water. The black solid line is your revenue at existing rates today, assuming that we make no changes. And the red dashed trend line are your expense projections going forward. And then the bars at the bottom represent your net operating cash flow. So revenues less expenses. You can see that we have positive net cash flow through about fiscal year 2031. However, this is before funding any capital. So if we bring in your capital improvement plan, this is what is projected for the study period. Again, maybe not again, but we can only set rates for 5 years. We can't go beyond that. But again, we want to make sure that we're looking beyond that 5-year period to make sure that we're not going off the deep end once we're outside of it. So for the planning period, which again is those 5 years, there have 43.6 million in planned CIP projects. There's a few listings there of what that includes. You'll see in fiscal year 2028, there's a pretty big spike and it includes some pretty important projects. So I wanted to just highlight them. It includes the Gopher Canyon pipeline improvement, the Gomez pump station electrical upgrades, the Lookout Mountain pump station and new emergency generator, Rice Canyon Road main replacement, and some district headquarter rehabilitations. So again, there's some of these things have been deferred and pushed off. I know, Jake, that district headquarter rehabilitation has been on the books for, I don't know, probably as long as I've been working for you guys.
Andrea, I have a question regarding that. Can we push it off farther? Because I don't like that spike in 2028.
The reality is most of that is it is our capital program. It's pipeline replacements and pump station replacements that we've actually already deferred. The reason you see that spike, it was intentional. Sort of. I mean, we intentionally deferred a couple of projects out of these years because we knew the financial position needed to improve. The other thing that happens in 2028 is some of our debt falls off. And so Andrea is going to run through this, but the 5-year financial plan that we went through last year what it assumed was basically in that year, we were going to issue some new debt to fund a lot of those capital projects as some of our debt falls off. So you see a big bar there, but really that's going to be paid for over a much longer period. Andrea's going to present a couple of options, including PAYGO and that kind of thing. I agree with you. Normally, we like to smooth things out, but we had kind of an opportunity to go, hey, we need to take care of a bunch of these projects. We have an opportunity due to the fact that we have some debt falling off, and so that was kind of the plan to mix PAYGO, which is just paying cash for our capital. So it's kind of a mix of that and utilizing debt to kind of smooth out the whole thing. So that's
Okay,
That's
so it'll
what
be under review.
yes, yes, and it is every year. You get a chance every year to take a look at it.
Is that when the meters are paid for?
2020, I believe so. Yes, I think the What's Up project falls off. That's correct. And we have a few years within these next, 2028 to say 2032, where several of our probably for way too long and actually get them done. That's
Yeah, we just push it off to 2029 and make it a little more level.
we could.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. So as a financial and a rate consultant, I don't want to mess with the CIP plan because I figure a lot of planning has gone into it and a lot of thought. And I have seen them defer and defer and defer. And it comes to a point where you got to bite the bullet and you got to do it. And I do like that they're building up in those first couple of years. That's going to give you time to make sure that your rates are where they need to be. If you front loaded that, it would be very impactful, right? It might even not be doable. Okay. So again, that's the CIP plan. The ending reserve. So what this means is this is after you're paid for all your operating costs. This is ending balance after paying for your CIP. And what you see there is the red line, solid line is the minimum reserve target. So that's the bare minimum of where we really want you guys to be. The black dashed line is an ideal target. So ideally we'd have you somewhere between that bandwidth. As you can see, we're just below the minimum in the first year. Reserves are below minimum target levels. And all that means is without adjustments, if we sit and do nothing, that it will impact your capital projects and it could even impact operations. So of course we can't sit and hold rates constant, right? We need to keep on increasing them. And as a summary of the results, the district did realize cost savings from the disconnect. However, we will be paying about $2 million each year through fiscal year 2035 to pay back the loan that was used to pay for the disconnect costs. So we need to keep that in mind that that's not gone yet. 30% demand increase did help. So the reserve levels that you do see, it's a big part in because of the bounce back in demand. That's how impactful it can be. The district implemented less than the full notice rate. So you guys do have rates through fiscal year 2028 right now that were noticed and can be implemented if the board decides to do so. And you can legally go up to the full noticed rates. We're not there right now. And we are, like I said, we're running close to the minimum target right now. You do have significant CIP over the 5 years, and we need to make sure that we're addressing it if we can. So what does that mean? I've come up with a few scenarios. These are just to give you an idea of the impacts of what a toggle or an input would mean to your guys' financial health. So I'm going to go through these a lot more in detail, but essentially we started off with, okay, what happens if we don't meet that 11,000 acre feet of sales that I told you we're hoping to see? So we came in under that and they're going to show you the impacts. And then we also looked at, okay, now what happens if we do the 11,000 acre feet, but we issue a debt? And what does that have? What kind of impact does that have on your guys' financial plan? Okay. So the first option, this is PAYGO funding. So we're paying for all your CIP, just cash out of hand or through reserves, 10,000 acre feet of sales. We would need to generate about $3 million additional rate revenue each year in order to achieve this. You'll see here now we have net positive cash flow that can be used to help fund capital and meet your reserves. So that at the end of the year, again, we're looking at fiscal year 2030 as our end year. Again, we're showing beyond that. You'll see that we're now between those two targets, we're in a pretty healthy level, but you'll see in fiscal year 2028, we have a pretty big dip below that minimum. And it's okay to drop below the minimum in 1 year and bounce back up, but that that one might be a little bit too low. That's running critically low. I don't know, what is that, about 12,000, maybe like 12 million roughly. So again, it's achievable. We might need to do higher revenue adjustments if that were to occur. Go ahead.
I have just a quick
Absolutely.
question. So, some of your rate assumptions that you
Yeah.
went through earlier, just throwing out, for example, electricity.
Mhm.
You're obviously projecting out to 2035. Were those, cost, considerations extrapolated out to 2035? In other words, did you make assumptions all the way out?
We did. So it's
Okay.
essentially doing the 9% year over year.
So
So fiscal year,
We all know that commodity prices, labor costs, all those
Mhm.
things can fluctuate. So
absolutely.
it sounds to me like there's some worst case, a little bit of worst
Mhm.
case built into those assumptions. Is that,
I feel like 9% on energy. I don't feel that that one's worst case. I think it's probably reasonable.
Okay.
I think worst case would be even worse. Like we seen 14% like a year ago.
right?
It was,
Okay.
we've seen some, and again, you guys are gonna be using more electric vehicles. So hopefully you guys have solar that will offset it. So
Right.
there's a
Okay.
lot going in
That
there.
answers my
Mhm.
question. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions? The second scenario is pay go still. Now we're just increasing our sales to 11,000 acre feet. This one would only require about 2.8 million in additional rate revenue. You'll see that we're still funding our capital and it's bumped up a little bit. But what you'll see in the out years, we're in a better position than we were before. Okay. Then we're gonna do one more. The scenario 3 is the 2020 million new debt that would be in 2028. This one, we're gonna generate less in additional rate revenue, about 2.1 million. So again, we're bringing it down because we're utilizing debt instead. You can see there that light purple, that's everything that the debt could fund, the proceeds. Typically, we want to spend debt within 2 years. So you're just a little bit outside of that. So as long as you, depending on the terms of your loans, that might dictate a little bit, which exact projects you fund through. But we just took a general approach of, okay, here's your 22 million in proceeds. It will cover through 2029 and the start of 2030. And then this is what your ending reserves will look like. So again, we are a little bit lower on the upfront revenue adjustment. You'll see that the proceeds come in, they're hitting your reserve balances. So you'll see the jump. So in 2028, we're no longer below the minimum, but again, it's only because we have proceeds that are going to be used to fund the capital. And then as we spend down those proceeds, our reserve balance is going to come down. And what I want to point out is in the out years, if you look later in fiscal year 2033 and beyond, you'll see the target or the reserve balances continue to deplete. And that's because now you have debt that you need to fund. Okay, so you're trading off, you're spreading it over a longer period of term or time. And but you're helping them in the front end, if that makes sense.
What is the term that you anticipate for the $22 million debt?
So I did a 30, but it's adjustable.
Is that typically it's always a 30?
If you're gonna issue bonds, typically,
Mhm.
yeah, you'd probably go 30 years, especially if you're funding, pipeline improvements and things like that. You don't want to debt fund beyond the life of the asset, right? So it kind of depends on what you're funding, but 30 is pretty typical.
We see that a lot in water, water because of the fact that it kind of correlates to hopefully it's spread over the life of the asset. So the people that are benefiting that asset are paying for that asset in theory, right? That's for those that are for debt. Obviously, the people that are against debt will say, well, you're paying more for the asset. But
Well, then I'm just kind of curious,
Yeah.
if you have a rough number, if it's a 30-year bond debt, what would our payment be per year?
Depends a lot on interest rate at the time. I think
Yeah.
that would probably factor into anything we do is, timing. If we're going to do a bond issuance, we would time it to try to, but it makes a big difference if you're paying, whether it's 2% or even just 4%. But typically for municipal debt like that, it's low percentage rate. It really depends though. It really depends. And what term you go. right? So, some of our debt's only 10 years and the interest isn't, the total interest isn't great. You go over 30 years, the interest obviously is bigger. It's different, like a 15-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage, right? You're gonna pay more interest, but and those would all be decisions that this board would get a chance to make too, how we want to structure that debt. But that's pretty typical, is 30 years, and usually it is in the low single digit percentages when we're issuing municipal debt. And so it's not a bad strategy, and it helps smooth things out over the long term. But again, all decisions we can make going forward.
So in 2028, would the debt be in the beginning of the fiscal year? Would it be more in the middle or be at the end?
You could issue when you choose. Yeah.
The model has that functionality too, just to see, and we said it was the beginning of fiscal year 2028, but that's the same year that some of those other debts are falling off. I believe I can double, there's two that I know. I think they're like the Morrow and the Beck, but they're falling off within that time frame. And we picked it up. It's almost the same amount, if I remember right, Jake.
Well, then I have a question. Would it be better for us to, let's just say hypothetically, the debt rolls off in February? Would it be better to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 months to save that money, which then you don't need as much to debt?
Potentially. Yeah, depending on interest rate environment and kind of the need for the capital projects. I would say those two things would probably factor in, but yeah, I mean, there's unlimited options when it comes to that,
Okay.
really. Yeah.
And there's consultants that specialize in just that. So you usually get like an FA, and they'll help you with the timing and everything else that goes into it. And then the fourth scenario, the Finance and Budget Committee did not see, but essentially what we did was you guys have noticed rates that are already on the books. And for this out period for fiscal year 2026, 27, and 28, I just assumed we went up to the full noticed rates. Do I think you guys would do that? No, I don't think you guys would do that. But it's going to show you what, the limit that you can go up to with the rates that you have in place right now or have available to you. It would generate about 4.3 million. So you can see it's much higher than the other scenarios. And this would be your ending reserve balances. So like I said, you're right there at your minimum target in that fiscal year 2028, and that's cash funding it. But again, you would have some really high adjustments to get there.
Yeah. If you remember, the max rate was 9% plus the pass through. So
and you guys aren't at even the max rate right now. So keep that in mind. It's you're not even there right now. So to go up to it would be even more than that.
Yeah.
But you'd be in a very healthy position. So where are we at legally? Unless there's any other questions regarding financial plan? Okay, let's go through legal rate setting. So what are we governed by? So rates here in California are governed by Proposition 218. Essentially, they state that an agency cannot collect revenue beyond what is necessary to provide the service. All that means is you can't be for profit. You can't earn money on your rate. Revenues derived by the charge shall not be used for any other purpose other than that for which the charge was imposed. So essentially, that means your water rates cannot pay for police. They can only pay for water. The amount of the fee may not exceed the proportional cost of service for the parcel. This is where things have gotten pretty hairy in recent years, and especially this last couple of years. They're taking it quite literally. They're getting down to the parcel. They're being very specific. So before we were very general, we'd say, okay, we're allocating cost in this manner to single family as a whole, and that was sufficient. Now they're questioning that.
Who's they?
The courts. So when I'll talk about a couple legal cases that have come up and have lost in their verdict and what it means for how we set rates moving forward. Well, at least right now, hopefully there'll be changes. No charge may be imposed for a service unless that service is actually used. All that means is if you don't have the ability to provide them with water, if there's not a line going to their property, you can't charge them for it. And then a written notice of the proposed charge shall be mailed to the record owner of each parcel at least 45 days prior to the public hearing. Okay, so it's just all on the administrative side. So the first case, I don't know if you guys I see a couple familiar faces, but if you're around for the 2023 study, this was going on at the time and did influence the rate structures we came up with. So Kozar versus Otay Water District, it involved a class action challenge to Otay's tiered water rates. You guys also had tiered water rates before. So that means as you use more water, you would pay more. Okay. Tiers were established in their case to promote conservation and affordability. The district's evidence supported conclusions that tiers were based on the concept that higher water users place greater demand on the system. And they also assumed that residential customers use water similarly. They relied heavily on industry standards and assumptions. So those are all things that we would have done the same way that Otay did them. The court ruled against Otay and said no, that the rates weren't cost of service based. They appealed it, and the appellate court or the trial court said nope, they invalidated the rates as well. So they upheld the previous decision. They said that insufficient evidence to show that tiers were based on actual costs. So this is really important. Again, we would use methodologies or reasonable assumptions to generate the different customer class rates and tiered rates. And now they're saying, no, you need to find or establish or show that when you go to that next drop of water into tier 2, it has a different cost. There's a cost-based reason for it to be that way. They also said that there's no connection between higher water use and peak demand. And then they said that there's no definitive reason to, at least in that case, to differentiate between customer classes. So everything that they're saying here, it really sounds like these judges were leaning towards a uniform rate. You know, if you don't have a cost-based reason, you shouldn't have customer classes and you shouldn't have tiers. They indicated that you could use peaking factors, but more evidence was needed. So they didn't tell us how to do that. They just said, hey, what was done wasn't enough. Okay. The next case was the most recent one. Alfred, I don't know if you know the exact date that the ruling was done, but I think it was 2 weeks ago was the final.
Yeah, July 30th.
So it was very recent. I was hoping, praying that it went a different way. Pat's involved a class action challenge to the city of San Diego's tiered rate structures. The city argued that higher volume users should pay more due to the increased infrastructure costs required to support peak demands, which is unnecessary for low use customers. Again, that's approach I would have taken up until these cases came out. I would say that your system is designed to meet peak demand. And so there's cost incurred related to that. And, you know, whether it's operational or not, they should incur, it could be spread that same manner. And again, there isn't a specific cost at that moment in time that is causing those tiered rates. So they ruled against it. The court found that cities' rates were designed primarily to encourage conservation, and this is not a cost-based justification. The city's peaking factors were based on historical consumption without employing time of use metering. I smile a little bit because that's exactly what I would have done. You're going to use historical consumption because that's what you have available to you. To use time of use would be incredibly burdensome and almost impossible, right? It's going to be very hard to do that. Applying a tiered rate structure solely to residential customers may result in discriminatory treatment. And then they also took issue with a lack of data regarding source water supply. So the city of San Diego has multiple supplies. They have a cheaper supply that their rate structure put to the lower tiers. And they said, hey, if everybody used this low amount, then they should only pay for that lower cost of water. And only those people that are causing that second supply to be purchased should pay for that. And they said no. They said that you're blending the water and you can't prove that the lower tier customers receive that lower cost water. So that impacts what I was hoping to do here at Rainbow. Our key lessons here, again, conclusory statements without evidence or insufficient. So they're literally looking for a cost-based justification for everything. They're being literal. Reliance on industry standards. This is something we've used in the past, including the M1 manual, is insufficient. So that's like meter capacity ratios. Now we need to go to the agency and we're specifically asking, okay, what can your guys' meters actually do? And we're designing our rates based off of that. And it can be very impactful. So if we've moved from agencies that are using a very standard meter capacity ratios. Those ratios is how we get different meter charges by size. And if that changes significantly in the first year you do a cost of service study, it could be very impactful for one meter size versus another because all those ratios are going to most likely change. So again, just keep that in mind that those are going to be impactful. This goes without saying. You just got to make sure that you're bulletproofing your rates as much as you can. Have a thorough cost of service study and report. Document everything, and then definitely identify the risk factors. And we definitely want to go through them with legal counsel and make sure that they're aware of them and that they're letting us know of anything that they're concerned about. I'd say be creative. I've looked at a lot of data over the last 2 years, and it's really hard to come up with a cost-based justification for tiers. I'm not saying it's not doable. I'm just saying you have to realize, you have to decide how much risk you're willing to take.
Great. The one other thing I'll mention is the most recent case, the Pat case she mentioned. It might be appealed to the California Supreme Court. The city of San Diego has already reached out to Aqua and asked for amicus brief assistance and said they intend to appeal. So we may get, something different from the California Supreme Court frame, but this will be a summary. We'll keep you posted there if we get any sort of different guidance from them.
Thank you so much. So typically what we would have done during a rate study is we'd say, hey, okay, what's working and what's not? What do you guys like about your rate structure? And then we'd say, well, what do you want your rates to achieve? What objectives are there that we're trying to achieve through our rates? And then we design rate alternatives to hopefully meet those objectives. Right at this moment, I feel like we've been handcuffed. I feel like we don't have as much flexibility as we used to have to do those steps. So it's really just data driving it. So my thoughts here are the legal environment right now today is less than ideal for setting rates. As I mentioned, you do have rates through fiscal year 2028 that you could utilize as long as you don't go up to that max. I don't know if Alfred wants to jump in there, but as long as you don't go up to beyond what that max was, you can adjust your rates like I think you guys have 4% right now, roughly estimated for January. You can do that. That's fine. I know you guys desire lower rates for ag customers. It goes without saying one customer class cannot subsidize another. They have to pay for their fair share. There are, again, you'd have to identify costs that they shouldn't pay for. Originally, I was hoping to, look at something like treatment costs. They shouldn't need treated water, so they shouldn't have to pay for it. However, they receive treated water. So based off of the Pat's case, I would say, nope, we can't do that. Okay. Alternatively, again, we'd look at Alfred and get legal counsel's advice, but we would look at non-rate revenues potentially, and depending on your guys's direction, I believe non-rate revenues such as property taxes, rents, and leases are available to be used at the discretion of the district and the board. Again, that might be viewed positively or negatively, depending on who's looking at it. And we would always defer to legal counsel as to what they feel about that approach. Besides that, purchase water cost projections are still a little uncertain. MWD is right now working on adjusting their rate structure. The adjustments for calendar year 2027, they're looking to move 30% of their treatment cost from variable to fixed. And they're also looking at significantly increasing their minimum reserve. So when they do that, I imagine there's going to be a pretty big jump in cost. Again, you guys don't have nearly the fixed cost that you used to, but it should be impactful in some way. So worth considering at this point, I think, is do you, and Jake can speak to this, do you guys just want to do a full rate study at this point, or do we want to sit and let this kind of fall out and see if the appeal happens and if things become a little bit better?
Yeah, I think our, and we talked about this last month, there was a couple of things we were going to look at, right? And one was, we've heard some feedback on ag rates and some of these other some of the standby charges and things like that. I think given what's occurred in the last couple of months, I think our recommendation is we probably best off just moving forward with, again, we've already approved a 4% rate increase. We know that hits our budget needs. Andrea has already kind of started working on, the balance, basically it's just developing our rate card for January 1st and really see where these rate studies shake out. Our current cost of service study, again, utilizes uniform rates, so there's not a lot of risk where we're at currently. And that's very different than a lot of districts up and down the state. To be quite honest, it was a pretty conservative approach, but I think again, where the courts are kind of pushing everybody. So we're going to have to, potentially look at other alternatives for any other kind of objectives we'd like to see, whether that's on the residential or agricultural side or both. But the things we were kind of wanting to take some creative looks at right now legally pose a lot of risk to the district. And so I think that's our recommendation, is that probably the next step for us would be, coming back with maybe a couple of alternatives using, using some the creativity that we have left to see how the board wants to balance that rate card. But other than that, there's a little bit of hands are a little bit tied. So that's the committee kind of agreed with that. And so that's where we're bringing that to the board for any feedback. But that's kind of our recommendation going forward, that we would take that approach.
I think it makes sense. I think we should let some of this stuff shake out, kind of see where we end up at the end of the day, rather than going through a process and then realizing we got to make adjustments after the fact. So I think that's a good recommendation.
Yeah, like to wait a couple of years, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we have a couple of years of rates. So yeah.
Right. That'd be my opinion too.
Yeah. The good news is, I mean, we noticed 9% rates. Like Andre said, we do not intend to increase rates by 9%. Or nor is the need there in the near term. So we're still well below what was there. So we're not in a bad shape. We haven't even, we're 14 months into a period of 18 months where we've made no adjustments. So better shape than most.
It's going to be 10 times more expensive when Andrea does it after all these changes. All the work she's going to have to do.
For sure. There's no more questions. I would definitely appreciate your time. Again, we're going to assume the 11,000 acre fee in our financial planning. We can come up with some debt options if you need. But we're well on our way to being done with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, action items. Consider approval of the agreement with Hawk Consulting for water and wastewater, master plans, project and project budget increases.
I'm going to turn this over to Chad. This is a big initiative by the district, but Chad's leading the effort on this.
Okay, thank you. So the district has a master plan for both water and wastewater. It was last updated in 2016. It is both the operations manager, myself, and our general manager, Jake Wiley, when he joined, all believe it is grossly outdated. It's obsolete. This has to do with the developments that have occurred east of I-15 and most significantly detachment from the San Diego County Water Authority. When developers do come in, prospective developers come in and they want to meet with the district and they want to talk about water sources, where's the sewer going to go, impacts to the CIP program, how is that? Staff is essentially flying blind. We don't have a solid document to go off of. With that, we solicited RFPs back in April of this calendar year. That RFP was for both, as the memo states, water and wastewater master plan updates. We received 4 proposals from different consultants. Staff interviewed 3 of those consultants. After the interview, it was staff's decision and make a recommendation to this board to enter into an agreement with Hope Consulting, which also would include 2 of their optional tasks plus staff time. So there's an allocation request of $100,000 into this current budget. But of the 4 proposals, Hope Consulting, which is being recommended, was the second lowest cost of all of those firms proposing. This was brought to the August Engineering and Operations Committee. There was a really good lengthy discussion on that. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions staff may have, or Jake, if I missed anything that you wanted to dive into.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple things. This has actually been, something's been in the works for a year or more, and really was identified as a need for the district. And really, it's we've talked about this, but sometimes spending on planning is tough, right? You're not putting pipe in the ground and things like that, but it's critical to make sure that we have the tools that we need to evaluate growth in the district and evaluate changes to our facilities and things like that. But also, I think one of the biggest things is the tools that we're going to get out of this, and a chunk of that cost is development of both the hydraulic model on the water side and on the sewer side, and really it aids obviously in the development of the master plan because it tests your entire systems for any deficiencies and then prioritizes your capital projects, right? So an invaluable tool to the district to be able to go, hey, I know where my biggest needs are. I know where my resources need to go. And, and aids us in that. It's really a plan that's going to guide us guide you for about 10 years is really the thought, or the intent. I sat through the entire selection process, both the proposal reviews and the interviews, and it was pretty clear at the end of that process that this is a qualifications-based proposal, and it should be. I mean, it's so important to the district as a whole, as a planning tool. And the team of Hoke and Kennedy Jenks, they're teamed with Kennedy Jenks on who's got significant depth in their master planning group. Had a great approach and just provided a ton of value to the district. Also in some added tasks that are actually included as part of the, they gave us some optional items, but they're things that the district was going to have to complete anyways, and came in at a significantly lower cost just because they're gathering a lot of that information anyways. The urban water management plan update is a perfect example of that. And so, it was just clear at the end of the interviews in particular that not only just do they know our system, right? That takes you so far, but they actually put the time and effort to come up with an approach that just hit every checkbox on the needs of the district. And so, and I would say the others, although they were good proposals, the others fell short of that. And so
that's what stood out.
That was kind of the process. And we had a pretty significant review panel. It included, all key staff here at the district. Not all key staff.
Department heads.
Yeah. Well,
supervisors,
engineering operations for sure, and that kind of thing. But then we brought an outside person just to review too, guy that helps us with RFPs and has a lot of experience to kind of dissect dissect what came in. So anyways, that is the recommendation. It did get a full vetting, and so that's my take on it. Lisa's got her hand up too.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Why were not all four? Was one disqualified? Interviewed.
It wasn't disqualified. It was just out of their written proposals. That fourth one just really didn't hold the same caliber as the other three. It was what we would consider a very generic proposal. There was nothing unique to Rainbow, whereas, as Jake just mentioned, Hoke and the other ones that were interviewed really took the time to analyze the district, its needs, and make some recommendations.
So which one was not interviewed?
Engineering resources, the one that's ranked fourth on the list. We a lot of when we're hiring consultants, experts to do work, a lot of it comes down to who you get. Right? Who's on the team? Not so much the firm, right? The firm can show experience and things like that, but it's really about who you get. And that was one of the primary criteria, and just felt like especially the top two firms had pretty significant experience in this type of work. The other two were very limited, and brought in the third consultant because we felt like they did have some unique ideas and kind of some out of the box thinking, and wanted to hear a little bit more from them. But their top two really shined as having the team and experience to be able to actually put together a really high quality master plan for us.
Jake, what's the part where it says $100,000 additional to cover the optional Hoke tasks?
So basically,
is that included in the price?
Yes.
Well, yes, they gave us a base fee, a base scope, right, to just address the items that were in the RFP. So we're going to provide a water and wastewater master plan. But as kind of added value, they put in some optional tasks. And the primary one really is the urban water management plan update. It also has a water shortage contingency plan that has to be attached to it. It's a pretty big water resources effort that we have to have done by 2026. We were actually planning on going out to RFP to get assistance with that. They included it because they're already gathering all of our water use data and they're projecting forward demands. These are all things that are also included in the urban water management plan. They were actually able to provide costs lower than the cost we received back in 2020 to do that update to complete the plan, just because they're already doing probably a third of the work.
We're
part of this.
If I could just ask quickly, were the other bidders also given the opportunity to bid on that extra work as well? Or did we kind of go down this path and then after the fact decide to add extra work into the contract?
We didn't add it. They just
Correct.
they said, hey, this could be a benefit
we
to
could-
you.
We could add this extra work.
Yes.
Unsolicited, add this extra work to the contract if you want it.
That's a great question. Each firm who
They did have optional.
provided a proposal did include optional tasks. Hope Consulting was the only one that included the urban water management plan as an optional task.
But that wasn't part of the bid. Like
It
we
was
left
not.
it wide open.
Correct.
Anybody could bid for extra work in different areas.
That is
they
correct.
felt they
Is
needed.
that's why it's the $100,000?
So we have the table in your board memo. So their actual proposal base proposal was $794,511. And with the two optionals, so we want the fire flow analysis, this is district-wide, $7,770, and then the urban water management plan, $66,900. So the total professional services agreement with Hope Consulting would be for a not to exceed of $869,181. And we had some staff time in there. So the project budget, well, it's approved in year one of the CIP. That's getting the overall $100,000 increase to its approved budget.
So it's up to 900,000
Correct.
potentially.
Correct.
Potential. Yeah, I just have a comment. So coming from a finance background, I'm always looking to save money. So I know low bid isn't the only criteria that we use, but in the public bidding process, we do want to give credence to those who sharpen their pencil to try to save ratepayers money. And so one of the topics that came up at the committee, centered around like, can we get our hands around why engineering resources kind of wasn't considered, wasn't interviewed? If I could just ask, were there references checked or anything? Did anyone check references?
We did not check references when the evaluation team reviewed it. Their proposal had items at the very beginning referencing the district as the city. There was some typos in there. It was what we kind of just consider, like I said, a generic. It wasn't that this was, hey, we're going to do this for the Rainbow Municipal Water
Kind of a
District.
template.
It was more of a generic template, yes.
Yeah, and like I said, heavy weight went to the team and experience, and I think everybody kind of had it falling short on that. Yeah.
Well, I do agree with you that familiarity with the organization and utilizing engineering teams that have done a lot of work for the district is beneficial in its own right. But again, in terms of the public bidding process and bringing new perspectives or opportunities for other consultants to participate in our organization, I think has value too.
Sure.
Great.
I mean, you can get myopic as you kind of continue to use the same people because, and in all fairness, I know it's not easy. It's efficient for staff because they know the players. They've been with the players in multiple different capacities. And so it does help with fluidity of communication and things like that. And having said that, I do understand that there's value to that. But one of the concerns that I have as a representative of my constituents too is economic savings. I mean, we're talking about a 15% difference, 150,000. Now we're up to $250,000 if we add the add-ons. And I think that begs for some more explanation as to why engineering resources was not given an opportunity. And I understand kind of the rub with the template issue. I did go through those proposals, all 280 pages, and it's quite lengthy. And I understand, but I do also know, having done this before, that I think everybody uses templates. Nobody writes a 300-page proposal from scratch.
Correct.
So things could get missed. I do think Chad, you had mentioned that Hope did make a miss too and how they represented the.
In one of the tables they did.
Yeah. And again, I will just chalk that up to an oversight or a miss or things like that. Those things happen in bid proposals. And I wouldn't want to disqualify someone based on a typo.
No.
Right. But back to, I think Lisa's question, they were considered responsive, right? They were
They were.
responsible bidder.
Yep.
So they're in the mix. They weren't disqualified.
No,
Non-responsive.
No.
Just that you didn't like the written, some of the written.
well, I think the template thing probably, I mean, that's obviously throws up a red flag, right? That, hey, I didn't take the time to go through and actually put Rainbow Municipal Water District in. All I'm saying is this, for me, that doesn't carry very much weight. But the way I ranked the proposals was based on who I'm getting, what I'm being provided, and those items. And I think everybody saw it the same way, that they just didn't have neither the experience or capabilities to actually perform at the level we need this project to perform at. And that is kind of the reason these things do their qualifications based. And believe me, if there's not value there, then obviously you've got to kind of look. But I think the difference in experience and team expertise between that, $150,000 is actually immense. And I think everybody kind of saw it the same way. That was really the basis of, again, we're kind of showing, hey, there were some red flags there with the proposal, but it actually was much deeper than that as far as the reason we didn't go forward with an interview. If they'd have gave me a reason, we'd have brought them into interview. I don't mind spending an hour with somebody.
I couldn't find that reference to city instead of district. I did find multiple references to district. I'm not saying that it wasn't there somewhere in those 283 pages, but
I hear your concern.
It wasn't a big issue would not have made a big issue for
Agreed.
me. And that was the justification that was given at the committee. And
Okay.
that didn't.
I think for the boards, the engineering and finance, as Jake mentioned, we're in the process of starting the RFP process for the urban water management plan. This is something that is state required that we were going to go do, that we are going to spend money on. When we did it back in 2020 with Brown and Caldwell, Hoke's proposal to include this within their master plan is significantly less than we did it 5 years ago. So that's where we are saying we're seeing already some cost savings there.
Yeah. When we did the recapture water feasibility study, was a Hope also, were they the low bidder on that one? Do you recall?
On the groundwater proposal?
Yeah.
I don't have that
You
data
don't
offhand.
recall, or you don't-
I
They
don't
were
recall.
low fee. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I believe we only received 2 proposals on that project.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Well, can we have more discussion? Or if there are 2 out of 4 companies here, can we hone it down to 2 out of the 4? I mean, can we just say those other 2 in the middle are out? They're obviously out of the financial range.
I can help with that. They're all in play. All 4 are qualified bidders. They've all made the proposals. It's a staff recommendation for Hope, but it doesn't mean that you have to rule anyone in or anyone out. It's up to the board now to decide staff recommendation, or is there another desire for.
Well, I'm all for saving money. And if there's that big of a differential, I don't know anything about these companies, but
I think,
they know more. And
I'll be honest. I think staff would be very concerned entering into a contract with engineering resources to do our master plan. I think we would have a very low level of confidence that we would be headed towards any kind of valuable project, to be quite honest.
Yeah, if I could just add the other thing, it just so happens because when I was going through the proposals, I did see that engineering resources used as their reference City of Corona, which I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And I did call Tom Moody, who's the general manager, Department of Water and Power, and I asked him, how did they do? Because they did the recycled water master plan for the City of Corona. And he had nothing but good things to say about the company. He said they did a fantastic job for them. So again, I can only go on that. Again, making the phone call, checking the reference, avoiding the interview process. I mean, it would be nice to know if outside of the written proposal, if there was an opportunity to create a dialogue to see what the qualifications were, could have been helpful. But
But things like that matter to me because again, I do have history with that group and I did get a glowing recommendation for engineer resources. So that does kind of play into my decision process.
Chad, I'm looking at the options, the optional stuff, and I don't know if we're taking it all, but it could be up to 1.3
Correct.
million.
We're only asking for 2 of their optional items listed.
Oh, okay,
Not sure about the rest.
2.2 FA and 2.2 J.
okay.
So it would be a not to exceed with this firm for $869,181.
Okay.
I have a question. When you review these, Jake, do you read or do they supply references so you can? Because my thing is since this from our last meeting, the ongoing that lawsuit we had, that I am wary of going with a company that ultimately could bite us in the butt, and then we're back to litigation. So it's
Yeah, I mean, this is a professional services contract, so it's a little bit different. With construction contracts, you are basically bound by, you know, they're qualified low bidder, you're bound for that. It's very difficult to maneuver around that. These qualifications based are much more, you know, it's not cost based. It is really qualifications. And so I would say you know, the chance of litigation, it's really more about, you know, our confidence in getting a quality project, you know, quality product. That's what we were after. So yeah, litigation and those kind of things. You're talking about a master plan. So, you know, I mean, there could be issues if, you know, somebody doesn't complete the project, or, you know, you could end up with some things, but very different than construction.
Both staff,
And- yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Both staff and the firms that were interviewed anticipate this being a 12 to 18-month endeavor. We anticipate being very involved so that this document, when it is finalized, is, as Jake said, is a great tool and resource that both engineering operations, the finance department, all of our committees can utilize. The process was, again, it was, in my opinion, thoroughly vetted. I completely hear Director Irvine's statement that the fourth proponent was not interviewed, but staff is recommending that the board accept option 1.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I know that staff did a great job and they did their due diligence, but kind of where the dividing line comes in with me is on the constituent side and making sure that I'm trying to get the best value for my constituents and to kind of look past 15%, which is significant. If we were talking about, you know, a couple of percent, maybe $10,000-$15,000, but now we're up to $250,000 difference.
Which you said was a higher percentage.
It's about 15%. But what I'm saying is with the add-ons now, again, we're talking about a $250,000 difference. Granted, we're getting additional product.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, from my perspective, with my constituents, I have to be able to justify also what we're spending in this district with limited resources.
Yeah.
We just saw from our water rate study, we're challenged.
Yeah.
Financially, we're very challenged. And so I have to give quite a bit of deference to the lower bid, if they are qualified, if they were responsive. And if, in my case, having checked a reference, which I'm familiar with, getting a glowing recommendation from them, that would be my, I would be proposing that we use
Yeah.
engineering resources.
I would say on the added items, because the 250,000 difference it's not apples to apples. I know you
Correct.
understand
But
that.
the other, yeah.
So if we have, you know, if we go out to, you know, RFP on the, you know, on the water shortage, the urban water management plan, I mean, you can just expect we're going to come back with $100,000 contract. That
Right.
Probably at least. It was 85,000 back in 2020.
Correct.
So anyways, that's, you know, there is, I know you.
I understand where it comes from. Yeah.
say, Flint, did you review any of this? I'm just curious.
I briefly looked at a couple of the proposals. I did not participate in the consultant selection process. I have in the past on some items, but not this one. And I think the staff has probably ventilated this process pretty thoroughly. That'd be my guess, based on what I've seen and what I heard at the committee meeting. I expressed a concern or two about the selection of Hoke at the committee, not for the reasons that have been brought up here, but other. And, but I think.
Can you enlighten me? What were the?
Well, I had a concern that because Hoke has done so much work for the district, that it was hard for me to understand why they needed to spend at a $20,000-$30,000 a month rate to do this plan. I think the staff made a very good point about the hydraulic models, which are costly and timely, and it's important that they be accurate. And so I was able to put that concern aside. And the other concern I had is that, well, I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that at this point. I'll leave it at that. I voted in favor of supporting the staff recommendation. And in looking at the Hoke proposal, I think it was an excellent proposal. And especially considering the urban water management add-on compared to doing that independently, I think probably the district financially will be in good shape if we go forward with the recommendation the staff brings. And so personally and on behalf of the committee, we support proceeding with the staff recommendation. That answer your question?
I still want to know what's that other one you don't want to talk about.
What?
I still want to know about the other thing you don't want to talk about.
Well, this is just, I'm not an engineer. I'm not technically qualified, perhaps, but I have felt that in the past, Hoke has recommended some costly investments by the district that, in my thinking, were not entirely needed, and that we could have found alternative ways to achieve the same objectives. I've been advised by staff that that was not the case, and that, in fact, my take on it was wrong. So that's just kind of where I came from a little bit. But I think Hoke is an incredibly talented firm. I think they have got great qualified people, and they clearly are familiar with us, and that's important. I think over time, the sort of groupthink mentality where a consultant becomes a pawn of the district or certain people on the, that can happen, but I don't think that we're facing that with Hoke at this time. I think that they will give us very good service.
Thank you.
And we unanimously voted to, well, one director abstained because Rod abstained because he was new. And
That's not correct.
What?
He didn't abstain because he was new.
What did he, okay, hit me.
I don't know what his thought process. I don't ask people why they vote the way they vote. He voted to abstain.
Right, because I was sitting next to him, and that's when I asked him, what's the problem? He said, I haven't been here long enough. And
That's not what he said.
okay,
He said he needed more time to review it.
okay. So at any rate, with that in mind, but it was nearly unanimous by the committee. And there were no votes. So there you go.
Thank you, Flint. Well, do we have a motion?
To do what?
Option one or any other idea? Because it sounds to me we have a split board.
Honestly, I'm going to go for the low estimate also, whatever the name of that company is.
Are you making a motion?
I don't know. Do I have to make a motion on an option here? There's so many pages. This,
Fred, does she need to make a motion on that?
Yeah, we'll need a motion if there.
Yeah, any action. Yeah.
You could also provide direction to staff to interview that fourth firm, contact all references. come
I
back
would
to the board.
prefer that.
Come back
actually.
to the
I
board.
just don't feel there's equal amount of information here. Cost wise, if it's gonna save our district 150 to possibly 200,000, I would like to interview them.
You know, I will go ahead and make a motion that we recommend engineering resources to complete this master plan. I would just look for a second.
Okay,
I said,
second,
Okay, so
too much money going out the door. Sorry.
can you explain, so are you want to go with them or you want to have them interviewed?
No, we're recommending that they be selected to do the master plan. And we have a motion and we have a second.
Okay. My only concern
So maybe
is
money.
the others, in all fairness, were interviewed. You're not concerned to take a company that's not even been interviewed?
We have a motion and we have a second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Director Townsend Smith,
Yes,
Director Mack,
No.
Director Hoffman,
aye.
Director Irvine.
Aye.
Motion carries by 3 with 1 no.
Okay. Next item. Consider a variance request from resolution 2024-08 to allow a lot larger than 0.49 acres to qualify for capacity class B 3/4 inch meter and approve the new water service application from Division 5. And I believe that's what this nice lady would like to comment on. Carol, Henson?
Hanson,
That's-
yeah.
Okay.
My name's Carol Hanson. I'm feeling the gut punch that you guys are. I've been listening to every word. I'll set that aside. The rate conversation, she left the room,
She just.
was kind of interesting as well to listen to that. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at other utility companies as an example of how they're modifying their pricing scheme, but I'm a bit of a nerd, and when I get new rate increases, I actually go down the little Alice in Wonderland trail and try to understand what they're doing. San Diego Gas and Electric a couple years ago really changed their rate structure based upon, they piecemealed it across sourcing versus delivery and started charging customers very different rates based on source and delivery. And then most recently, they went into the delivery side of it and piecemealed it even further into fixed and variable. And so for me as a customer, all of you with San Diego Gas and Electric, when you look at your bill after October, you'll actually see it piecemealed into 3 subsections. And by effectively fragmenting their costs, they're able to control those costs and get them through rate approvals more efficiently because they're more sharpshooter requests on their rate increases. So anyway, I just shared that observation with you. Again, I'm a bit of a nerd. Okay. So who am I? I'm a lady who's retired. And we are going to build our little dream home here in Fallbrook. And these are, you guys know this stuff, but I noticed it wasn't in the packet that was prepared for my section, which begins on, you guys are staff, right? 302. But these are your regs or the resolution that went through last year in 2024. And we're reading the sentence that had to do with the that's highlighted in red there, that has to do with resolution the 2024-08 and distinguishing between the meter size and the parcel size, the lot size. And what I supplied, again, starting with page 302, because I noticed your agenda content was really, really long, is the county has records for our parcel from 1973. And those measurements from 1973 say that the parcel size is precisely 0.5 acres. And again, all done by the county, 50 whatever years ago. And less precise than a surveyor that we hired, Karn Engineering over in Fallbrook, a licensed surveyor in 2025, remeasured the parcel. And the number in square footage is actually a little bit lower. Your resolution states that a parcel with 21,780, and yet without remeasurement, our parcel comes in at 21,541. And that's because some people who have lived there long before we have, this parcel's remained vacant, but there are easements, and the folks who live up the way, there are 6 residents up the way, have paved their access road across the corner of our parcel. So it's paved land. There's nothing we can do about it. But it encroaches on our lot size. So again, a current day 2025 land surveyor has measured our parcel to be 21,541, and we're clearly under the resolution, the regulation that you guys have of 21,780. And I wasn't even sure why I needed the variance request, because I thought it was pretty obvious when you do the measurements. But I know you guys, your job is to make sure that your regulations are honored, uniformly applied, nobody gets any favoritism. I totally respect that. But I am here today just to point out that our numbers prove that not only are we adhering to the intent of your regulations, your code, but we are actually quite literally adhering to the regulation and code.
So yeah, we have a variance request for this property who's requesting service, and yeah, this is correct. The regulation goes back further than 2024. We did update the capacity fees that actually have these notes underneath them, but the regulation is that, yeah, anything basically over 0.49, so half acre and above, minimum meter size is 1 inch. And there's 2 primary reasons for that. One just being we don't exceed capacity of the meter. A half acre parcel has a definitely has the opportunity to do that. They put together a nice package that kind of shows what the plan is and why they feel they're Nelson, is that Hanson? Sorry,
Yeah.
Ms. Hanson feels their demand's going to be lower than that, which could be the case. When we look at these things, it's true. We're not going out and measuring paved driveways and things like that, because properties change all the time. And so we're, the property in question, it's a 3/4 inch net, 3/4 acre gross, half acre net is what's on record. The county with the county. So that's basically, and so per our code, that is, it requires a 1 inch meter. I will say too, we kind of have 2 issues here. One that we haven't dove into yet, but the first is just that, and that's the variance request. And I would say it's not out in left field or anything. This is not, but it is a thing we have stuck to over the years. Is if it is a half acre or more, we don't know what's going to happen on the property. Next up property owner, whatever comes next. But the other issue we've seen is the fire flow requirement. The fire flow requirement, which typically governs, to be honest, when we have the single family home construction. And I don't know if you guys have gone through your fire flow sprinklers
coming up.
Yeah. So that's coming up. So I'd say this, I mean, even if we were to entertain the variance on our end, the issue typically comes into, and this is in California, I mean, even in Horse Creek, I think most of the meters are 1 inch, because the fire sprinkler demand actually pushes it above the 3/4 inch. So there's actually two hurdles that are going to have to be passed here. So again, today we're just talking about the potential half acre variance. But we will need, if even if we were to say, okay, yeah, there's enough evidence here to kind of support this, we would need kind of confirmation from the fire department that the meter we're putting in actually has the capacity to feed the sprinkler system based on the California Building Code requirements. So there is a qualifier there too.
Have you checked into that, Mrs. Hanson, if there is going to be a fire code requirement with a?
So I talked with the general contractor about that because that did come up in my discussions with Amanda, who I believe is your employee here, and she mentioned that. And the contractor said that they actually modify it with regulators and such, and that he, in his experience, had not seen that to be an issue. They can still work with the 3/4 inch meter. And that all of that is established with the fire department at a later date.
Mm,
And
mm-mm.
I was going to also.
Not later date, like meaning in the construction project that he's
You
working
need
on.
to talk to the fire department, not your contractor.
Yeah, if I do have a follow-up question also, and did I hear you say that there might be multiple dwellings on the property as well?
So in your packet, I'm starting on page 302, I prepared quite an extensive,
Okay.
I guess you guys don't get that. That's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
So I'm just for public discussion.
Yeah.
I wanted to
So,
raise that.
so it's 12,541 square feet. The resolution says the unit of measure is square feet, 12,780 square feet. Parenthetically, it cites acreage, but the measure is square feet. We fall under that. Now, what are we doing with that parcel? It's on a bit of a hill, and there are enormous easements on 2 out of the 4 sides that cut into usability of the land. And we are putting a only very modest 1,200 square foot, 1-bedroom home, almost cabin size. And we're putting a 500 square foot ADU in order to age in place, have a caregiver on the premises. And then we're putting a garage because my husband is a hobbyist. And he has some collector cars. So by the time you build a 1,200 square foot, 1-bedroom home, an ADU for a caregiver, and a garage, there's very little usable land left to even irrigate.
Sorry,
And all of that was in my packet.
you're not being picked up on the mic. Yeah. Thank you.
That's okay.
My only suggestion is, I have no problem with the variance, but as Jake pointed out, we really need to hear about from the fire department. So if they get the okay from the fire department, then I don't see a
I
problem.
guess this would be the 2-step. If you wanted to approve the variance, then which we're not recommending, but we typically hold firm on these things just because it is it's a half-acre lot, 3/4 inch or 3/4 acre gross. But this would just be basically step 1, and then we would need the buy off from the fire department, obviously, before we drop a 3/4 inch meter in.
But couldn't we first wait from the fire department?
You could, but then you just have to take it up again. I mean, if you're willing to do the variance, then if they don't get the buy off from the fire department, it's a 1-inch meter. No matter, it's not going to matter.
The fire department step will happen either way.
It is.
It's a matter of deciding whether or not we adhere to the resolution as it's written. And we are, literally. And again,
Have you
these
supplied,
things need to be uniformly applied.
supplied the district with your engineering that shows the square footage or your?
Yeah, all of that's with the county
Uh-huh.
in the construction blueprints that were approved by the county that shows the difference in the square footage.
Have you received that yet?
We have, and that's what I was kind of referencing earlier. We've, but the lot itself is a half acre. I mean, the gross area is a half acre. Again, if you go and take out, I know they've got an easement with a paved, that they're kind of subtracting those areas. But when we're looking at these things, we go, what is the lot size? Is it half acre and above, or is it not? That's kind of how the
It's
the
not,
code's written.
it's not because your regulation says it's in square footage, parenthetically, a 0.5 acre. The regulation unit of measure is in square feet.
Right,
And we adhere to
21.8.
that. We are under that clearly.
Yeah, well, removing portions of the paved portion and that.
It's a
Yeah.
paved road. It's the easement of others that we have absolutely no control over. And it's been done like that for decades.
So that is the that is the request.
And historically, when we look at these, we're looking at the county records, what the acreage shows. And like Jake mentioned, it's 0.76. I know she provided updated drawings, but when we're looking at all these applications for downsizing new meters, we're just looking at what the county record shows. And we said it's 0.76.
But the easements take away considerable portions
I understand.
of that. So we're at less than 0.5 acres.
Right.
As the square footage measurement from a licensed surveyor confirmed.
Another thing to consider is, do we want to set a precedent where we have to review each customer's net versus gross and something else to consider?
If I could just suggest, Ms. Hanson, if you could get something from CAL FIRE that says that they are okay with it, I'd like you to bring it back for consideration. If that's, that sort of makes sense to me. If CAL FIRE says that they would be comfortable with that on that lot, I think it would add information in the decision-making process rather than taking the chance of having it possibly voted no or yes today. I think if you were to bring that information back to the board, might add some color as to what you're asking for and give us a chance to discuss as staff. And
Okay, so from what I've read on your own website is that step one, exactly what Jake said, step one is you determine what the meter size is based on the parcel size. Step one. And that's what we're talking about today. And then step two, the fire department comes in and does their assessment. And then they make a determination one way or another, but that doesn't, the 3/4 versus a 1 inch is something that is modified at a later date. And the fiscal, the financial impact to us is significantly different, whether or not you choose the 3/4 now versus the fire modification later. And it has to do with the way it's billed. And it's billed differently because of the fire change in meter size than the initial meter size. So the financial impact to us, which again was included in the packet, is over $8,000,
Yeah, I saw that.
8,300. And that's just getting out of the starting gate. For the life of the use of the property, we will be paying an incremental $60 more a month for the rest of our time there. And again, I go back to both the intent and the literal definition of your resolution. In square footage is your primary unit of measure. We fall under that.
Cutout. With the cutout, yeah,
have we had
not
this
the
issue
the listed lot size does not.
have you
Yeah.
ever had this matter as far as any staff know where we had to evaluate a property and subtract easements to try to get it within a?
Not to my knowledge.
time.
Anytime it's listed, yeah, whatever the county record has, that's typically the
Okay.
the determination.
Ms. Hanson, it seems like, well, I know you know all the fire issues we have. Okay. It seems most reasonable to me that you do this presentation with the fire department. I can't see us going into a smaller meter. But it'd be up to them.
My understanding, again, phase one is with you guys and your rules. And then phase two was the fire department. There are whole process and protocols built around that they will then decide. And for fire reasons, they may say, yeah, you need a 1 inch. But then the bill to me that I write my check every month for is a very different number because of the fire department in phase two's decision than if you force me to go with a 1 inch now. Not only is it $8,300 right out of the starting gate today,
I know, I understand that. I read that.
meaning the check I have to write,
I know.
but also from now for forever, an incremental $60 a month for a 1-bedroom, 1,200 square foot home with zero, this is not agricultural space. This is a very modest residential home.
Well, my
Understand that.
thought is, again, from what Jake says, and I can't vote one way or the other because I want to hear from the fire department. I don't want to overstep my boundaries saying you can have a 3/4 when the fire department says you mandate you have to have one. So I need to have some clarification from the fire department. 'Cause I don't.
So I would ask, there are homes that were built by a developer effectively adjacent to this neighborhood that are all each sitting on, half-acre lots. And my understanding is all of those were allowed the 3/4, well, they're just under a half an acre, and all of those were allowed a 3/4 inch meter. And is that because a developer came in and was, able to size the lots such that they're just under that half an acre?
They could have. I don't know how those lots were split or even when
Yeah,
those,
it
or
would've
even
been-
when those meters
Yeah,
went
it
in.
would be like 2012. It was quite a while ago.
Yeah,
But they're what the comparable is in the neighborhood.
yeah.
Well, we have passed our 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought my speaking time was 3 minutes. Your deliberation time is as much as you'd like. I'm happy to sit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we should table it at this time. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
I agree. I already stated my thoughts.
What would be your purpose for one?
Because I'd like to then have maybe someone from staff. I want to see these guidelines that Jake's brought up of what the fire department says. And so I don't want to proceed on something that it's all might be from not anyway. I want to see what the fire department says.
Can I ask a question? Jake?
Sure.
I feel for her because, when you're remodeling a house, I have an access road all around my house too. I get that it was paved over, but I kind of feel like we have to go with what the county recorder says as what the parcel size is. And unless they can get that legally changed, right, by her professional that changed it, we're setting precedent that we'll do that for other people also. I think what she's saying is the fire department, whether we do a 3/4 inch, will able to do regulations or, be able to work with it either way. But I just kind of feel like with whatever it says on the recording parcel, whatever it's recorded is what we have to go with.
I didn't hear a question in there, but that's basically staff's take. Yes.
Oh, that wasn't a question. That was my statement.
Okay, do we have a motion? Do we have?
I motion we table it until we have information from the fire department.
Okay, do we have a second?
Is that an action that requires a vote? I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, we don't have, well, I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay.
You want a roll
We're
call
gonna
vote?
get in the first place. I figured. I was waiting.
Okay, Director Irvine?
Pardon me?
Director Irvine?
Oh, aye. Table, yes.
Aye.
Director Townsend Smith, aye.
Aye.
Director Mack?
Aye.
Director Hoffman?
Aye.
How did I get first? Do we change
Okay.
the order?
Well, it's not a no.
Maybe he didn't go.
Motion carries.
Okay. Consider the adoption of the ordinance amending and updating administration code section 1.02.020 conflict of interest.
It's a pretty administrative item. We, with the update of the salary schedule and that we had a couple of new positions that were added. And so anytime or revised positions that were added. And anytime that happens, obviously we review the conflict of interest code for those that have to file Form 700 and those kind of things. So this is just a kind of an administrative update to add or modify those job titles and that to our administrative code is those that have to file those documents.
It's because it's a new position. Is that the reason we have to modify it?
Yeah, we had a couple new titles. You remember, well, Josh is a perfect example. We moved meters under Josh, construction meter supervisor left, or construction and meter supervisor, yeah.
Construction and meters.
Yeah, and so kind of opportunity for Josh to take on some additional responsibility. So that's one of the ones that's in there. But it's basically that's the change, yeah. And it's just a title change really within the administrative code.
Okay. Do we have any more discussion?
Move recommended action.
Second,
So
Roll call vote. Okay. Director Townsend Smith,
second. Yay.
Director Mack,
aye.
Director Hoffman,
Aye.
Director Irvine,
Aye.
motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, informational items, operations report.
Yeah, I think all the reports were included in. If there's any questions on those.
Engineering report
Written report provided, nothing to add.
on a roll. Administration services report. Finance. Yeah. Okay, reports, general manager report.
In the essence of time, I don't have anything.
Legal.
Yeah, I did a written report, Proposition 218 update. We covered it in the prior presentation with great things, so I have nothing to add.
Okay. Making my life easy. Board members' comments. Patty?
Well, I don't know if this is proper place to say it, but Constantine, with the money we've been saving from detachment, there's no way to shift that into our reserve account? Okay,
They're earning interest at 4.4%.
okay, that makes me feel good.
annual.
It's not just sitting in limbo somewhere.
No, it's sitting in our savings. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Great.
No comments.
Lisa?
No comments.
Nothing from me. Okay, CSDA. Well, I'll say a couple things. CSDA has their quarterly dinner meeting this Thursday. And then also the conference, fall conference starts next Monday up in Monterey. That's about it on CSDA.
Is CSDA in San Diego again at the Butcher's Block or?
The dinner.
Yes, on
Oh.
Thursday.
Oh, okay. Been a little out of it lately. Thank you.
LAFCO?
Yeah, one thing on that, and this has been going on for a couple of months, but they finally did select or appoint an alternate public member. They had some turnover within the commission, and the alternate public member turned out they appointed Eileen Delaney, who's Fallbrook Planning Group chair.
I reckon.
And big supporter of the district. So we're really happy to hear that news. But yeah, that's about it.
Did David step down? He stepped down on a lot of things. Is he still on?
I don't think he stepped down from LAFCO.
Good.
No.
Okay, that's a good thing. Eastern?
Not too much there. We are trying to plan another quarterly lunch. Teresa is working diligently on that. There's a lot of schedules to coordinate, but we expect that to be happening soon. But not a lot there. They do give us updates on what's going on at Metropolitan from time to time, and there's a lot going on at Metropolitan. They're doing a search for a GM, which I think should happen pretty quickly here. And some other things. Andrea mentioned that they are moving towards putting part of their treated water rate on as a fixed portion, fixed cost. which actually isn't a bad thing for Rainbow. It's going to more affect those that peak off the system. So, and we're pretty steady demand. So, so the early calculations are that would actually be beneficial to us. But that's about it going on with Eastern. The water keeps coming.
Aqua, I don't know much going on. I know they have a fall conference. Teresa, it was like it'll be in November, December,
First
and then
week of December.
first week in December,
Mhm.
and that will be in San Diego.
Yep.
So that's a good move. Okay, committees, workshops, seminars, and training. Do we have?
Therese or Jake, can you guys, I want to go on that fall tour, you know, the Delta. And I put my name in, but I haven't heard anything. Isn't that? I don't know when it is.
Where'd
I
you
don't know who to contact.
Where did you put your name in through?
Sophia, she is the one that asked me, remember when I went before and I couldn't go? And then, yeah, so I put my name in. I don't have, I can't like get on it right now, but she said it's usually early summer or fall. And yeah, I haven't heard anything. So I don't want to miss it because I know they're probably having them right now.
Okay, let me look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, request to attend any upcoming meetings or conferences or seminars? Down here. Okay. Any suggested agenda items for next regular board meeting?
Can I request solar information?
Yeah, I was gonna put that in my, as part of my GM, but I know we're stretched on time. We've had a whole bunch of meetings. I'll just address it now. I'll take 1 minute. There's some significant challenges out there with the solar industry right now. And the main one is, you know, the big beautiful bill that got passed actually removes the 30% federal tax credit from solar, and so there's a lot of uncertainty in that market right now, and it's kind of rippling through. You know, basically anybody who's in that field. We've had a couple of semi-promising meetings. One with someone we used in the past to do some analysis for us. I think they originally took a look at the Beck site, and at that time there were some challenges there. But I think we're actually going to do a small piece of work just to see, you know, if there is anything there that makes sense, that kind of informs us before we go talk to actual providers and those kind of things. We are talking to those folks, but they have a much rosier story than the people behind the scenes actually running the numbers on, does the solar actually still make sense or not? And so I think that's the first thing we want to do. So we've already actually put some action in play on that, and we'll be following up. We're obviously interested in saving energy as much as you are. I'd love to cut that. That's one of our largest costs. I'd love to cut it. It's just a really, really challenging market currently. So, but we'll have more to come on that.
Okay.
See, Jake, is it possible to get somebody just get a page from the fire district? Because if this ever comes up again of someone asking for a variance, I'd really like to be able to see what the fire department says. That might be beneficial because you know, I'm not saying we don't trust what people are saying, but it'd be nice to have something in front of us.
Right.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, isn't it in front of us with the paperwork we were provided?
Well, that's really our policy. The fire department really, the way that it's actually the building code or California Fire Code that dictates it. Typically what they require is you're running 2 sprinklers and then they add on 5 GPM on top of that. What almost always happens is it pushes it over the 30 gallon per minute limit, which is the limit on a 3/4 inch meter. And so you end up putting in a 1 inch meter. I haven't seen a whole lot of exceptions to that. And so that was kind of the concern, but yeah, but it's really building code required, although they're always trying to come up with solutions and things like that. So, and yeah.
So we sort of want to protect precedent when in fact, if we violate precedent and then find out after the fact that it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
Like Jake mentioned, so 30 gallons a minute for a 3/4 inch meter, 1 inch is going to be about 70. So more than double. So that's why the fire department wants to have those 1 inch meters on those.
And why we
properties.
typically like larger lots to have that kind of capacity, because it will burn up a meter.
Yep.
If you're.
And I'm not building homes, but I have some friends that build homes and they've had to put in a fire sprinkler system.
Every home, every
Is
new
it-
home.
Is that now?
Yeah, every new home.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll be now going to closed session.
Take a break, or you're
And then we gotta find out what happened to poor Hayden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's odd. Hoping it was just a scheduling issue for him.
Back in, do we have anything to report?
Yeah, the closed session on labor negotiations pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 is adjourned and will be continued at tomorrow's special board meeting.
Guess that would be it.
We good?
We're closed. We're done.
All right.